Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Morning, everybody. Welcome to Chassidus in the Morning, 15 minutes. Change our lives. This year is sponsored by Anonymous for Refuah Shleima for Ze'eva, Yosefa, Bas, Malka, Riva. That should have speedily Refuah Shleima, have only good. Okay, continuing on in our discussion over here. We're coming near the end. So basically, what we're talking about is that just like we said that the son of whatever you don't like, your friend don't do, and we said and we explained what this means. That just like we don't like someone calling us out on all our faults, and we don't like that, we shouldn't do it to someone else. And even more, what essentially he's saying is that not just we shouldn't do it, but we should look at everyone from a positive perspective, just like for ourselves. What we see intellectually doesn't make any sense. Normally, emotionally, it has its effect and it will cause us to change. It should, but when it comes to our self-love, that covers it over. So we should also have that same type of self-love for someone else. As like I said before, that the friend that you like, you cover over their faults. So that they don't have any faults, we all have faults. But someone that you like, you cover them over. So we should like everyone, and all their faults should be covered over. And that's what we said. And then we said, and through that, through having that love, so to a cause by Hashem to also reciprocate it, and we become one with Hashem, and so Hashem reciprocates in the same way, that He doesn't take whatever we do wrong, and even intellectually He sees it, so to speak, intellectually He sees it, and He understands it, but it doesn't bring it down to the emotions to actually act upon it and actually act upon our misdeeds. But if we don't behave the way we are supposed to, we have that separation. So He also if we look at people negatively, we don't have that love, so to that affects that He also, that lack of connection with Him, so He also does it that way. And then we said, and that's why also it says, like from the story of Hillel, he said, V'idach Perusha, and the rest of it is just commentary. So we explained, because the whole purpose of the Torah is this unity. The whole purpose of Torah mitzvah is creating the world, is to have this unity between us and Hashem. And ultimately, mitzvah of Yisrael expresses that very much. Hashem yichud kutsha b'richu shchinte. Like we say, and I want to say before, a lot of mitzvahs, people say, you're not yichud kutsha b'richu, from the word kadesh and muvdal, separated, meaning Hashem, the levels of the Eibush of Ein Sof, that is high, way above, not physically high, of course, and with His Shechina, which is Shechenes Nabeshes, which is the Jewish people, or the Neshamas, and it's also the Neshamas, Jewish people, as they are included down here in this world. So you're taking from the highest and high, and that's the whole purpose of the mitzvah, is to connect the highest and high and the lowest and low. And like we said, the way we do that is through our obviously so. When all the Yidden, Kuma Acha Shleima, were one whole unit, because of Avi Yisrael, because of the focus on the positive, and overcoming the faults of a person, not looking at them, just like we do it for ourselves, that causes unity, and it's expressed. Sort of, this is the whole expression of Torah mitzvahs, and this is the most clearly expressed by Avi Yisrael. And then we went on to say that even when it comes, let's say, a mitzvah of putting on the talis, which is wrapping yourself of Kabbalah Shamayim and the level of Makif, and the different things that have different levels, they're all expressions of this idea, but they're just like expressions of it, whereas Avi Yisrael is it. That's what we're saying, and I think today, Mr. Shem, we're going to finish it. Yeah. So to all other mitzvahs. So yeah. So Kamai mitzvah satifas talis, like it says about putting on a talis. Like we'll go through this again. Page 40 in this sefer. Nearly finished. Kamai mitzvah satifas talis, putting on a talis. Like it says in the passage, you should put yourself as a king, except put yourself a king, bechinas or makif, which is this level of makif level of Hashem, surrounding, encompassing a very high level. That's what it's the type of godly light that doesn't tailor itself. That this encompassing light that enables us, the recipient of it, to totally give themselves over to Hashem. Ein yira, but if there's no yira, there's no fear in chachma. This is big obvious. It says im ein yira in chachma in yira. There's no fear, there's no wisdom, there's no fear. So which is it? Is it first comes fear, first comes wisdom? So ultimately, like so this explains, there's two levels. There's a yira tata, yira, low level fear and a high level fear. So the high level fear is after the wisdom. And then just in simple, there's a baseline fear, and then there's an appreciation type of fear, fear or respect, trepidation. The high level fear, which comes after the wisdom, after chachma, like it says, if there's no wisdom, there's no fear. I know what is this level? This is bitul mitzios mipnei hakeruv. This is a total. This is called bitul mitzios, total nullification, because of the closest to Hashem. He means a year I hear call a carve yoser tipo Allah a bit, because when it comes to fear and awe, the closer you are, the more you get that sense of fear. So just to explain what does it mean bitul mitzias in simple English, bitul mitzias literally means to nullify. How do you translate it here? Absolute bitter. Absolute bitter. So what does that mean in simple English? So one of the ways of explaining it is the process of life. So in the beginning, when you're single, so I call that stage called yesh. Yesh means like selfhood, ego, and your whole world surrounds, and this is nothing personal. I was also single. But in simple, it means that it's all about me. My life revolves around myself. And I might be nice enough to think about other people. And that's essentially our lives. Then you get married and you have bitlayash, which is suddenly my life is not just about myself, but it's about someone else. I have to take someone else into consideration. I can't just do anything I want. And this is one of the challenges when you get married, that like you might come and you're not thinking about someone else. You're not used to that. So suddenly you want to go somewhere. Or, you go, let's say, for example, of a guy, he goes to Mariv and he could come back like 3 hours later. His wife's like, where have you been? And he's like, what? I went to Mariv. She's like, 3 hours? It takes 15 minutes. What took so long? And he doesn't understand why, because he wasn't thinking about someone else. And it's like the stuff that we do, we're not doing it in the context of other people. But you get married and you start to learn this. And hopefully you can learn this before you get married. But it expresses itself very clearly when you get married, and you start to learn this, start to think about this and realize this, that I've got to think about someone else. I can't just sleep in whenever I want and wake up whenever I want and eat whenever I want, do whatever I want. I have to have someone else's consideration. That's batul yesh. Suddenly your own existence becomes nullified a little bit, and I have to take into consideration other people. And these are very good things. It's not like, I lose myself. It's really, that's where you gain yourself. But then you're walking yourself and you figure it out, and then you come to having a child. And once the baby comes, can I ask anyone that had a baby recently? A few of the girls in the Chassidus had it. Baby comes, and suddenly your life goes upside down. Especially in the beginning, especially your first child, you don't know what you're doing, and it's hard. You're 4 a.m. and your baby's still not sleeping, and you're exhausted, and this is like the third night in a row, this 4 a.m, and you struggle. You don't, but you can't just say, as much as you can try, you say, hey, listen, baby, take a nap. We'll continue this tomorrow. We'll continue the crying tomorrow. I'll be rested. We'll all be good. But now I'm tired. I haven't been doing this for 3 nights already. I'm exhausted. And, fortunately, the baby doesn't do that. It doesn't say, yeah, I get it. Suddenly your world revolves around your mitzius, your existence, your needs and wants do not exist. They're bottled, they're totally nullified. What's the existence is the child. Now, of course, you have to sleep, and of course you have to eat. And you manage to sort of figure that out somehow around that schedule until you understand the baby schedule. And once you put in the effort in the beginning, you learn that baby schedule, and then you're able to work and to tailor your schedule to fit the baby schedule. But again, you started off in the beginning, you're single, it's all about your schedule. Then you get married and you have to take into consideration someone else's schedule. You don't have to lose your schedule. You just have to be cognizant of someone else's schedule. And once you have the kid, suddenly your whole schedule is only based on the kid. Now you take care of yourself, but your whole material, your whole existence of taking care of yourself is so you can take care of your child. Because if you don't sleep, you don't eat, you don't go to work and make money, your child that doesn't have the food that they need to eat and doesn't have the clothing and doesn't have you. And this is bottom Matthias. So the deeper level of Yira we're saying is that this bottom Matthias. It's not that I'm a nobody, I don't exist. My whole existence is for the ultimate purpose. And this example that I gave, from what I understand, for a woman, this is her mitzvah. This is when she becomes the most, like her, expresses herself the most. And this is what we're saying when it comes to Torah mitzvahs and coming to Hashem. This is the biggest expression of ourselves. Like the Rebbe was bottom Matthias. His whole Matthias was a likus. And that's what we're talking about. And this comes about being the closest. You get close to Hashem, and the closer you get to Hashem, the more you realize it's nothing to do with you. And this ego and Yeshus and Nefesh Bahamis sort of becomes nullified within us. He made us a year, because when it comes to fear, the closer you are, the more the bittul expresses, the more that feeling of humility and humbleness. When you go in front of a great person, in front of the Rebbe, you feel very, very humble. When you're further away from the Rebbe, you feel less humble. That closeness brings it about. Whereas Mashenkin in God's love, but whereas love is on the opposite. The distance makes the love. I thought what the saying is, separation caused the heart to grow fonder, whatever it is. Basically, the further away you miss a person. When you're close to them all the time, so it's less appreciated. You less feel it. When the distance you go, you feel it more. That after the chachma, we're saying the word, when you have a chachma coming from the saying, like say Shema, you say after this chachma that comes from the echad, it causes that bittul mitzias. You have the closest coming to Hashem, and then you have the bittul coming to mitzias. When the kudas are shimu mimenu yislabesh ba'makiv shel a bittul ayir Hashem mechutz shekayim chachma. And there's a little bit of a vestige, a rishima from it that it's included in this makiv of the talis, and the year that comes from outside that comes before the chachma. So when your talis is communicating at this vestige of this makiv, it's connected through the saying Shema, and it brings out makiv. I think we'll stop here and we'll pick it up next week to finish it off. There's a little bit more. I don't want to get complicated. I want to just finish it off strong next week. So thank you very much for joining. Have an amazing Shabbos. And yeah.